Forging witness statements, misuse of police databases and illegal PNC searches. That's the overriding trends of their data. But they're not corrupt. They don't cover up anything. Okay, right, so just so I can finish the Parliament, right, I wanted to make a specific point about Keir Starmer, who is the new Labour head. Right, so he helped paedophile Jimmy Savile evade justice, but he also made a suppression and wanted it suppressed about child sexual abuse charges. I really want that known, okay? So he had the chance, right, to seek justice on Jimmy Savile when he was still alive, okay? But he helped him evade justice, and then 3 years later he died. So these victims could have seen some justice if Keir Starmer, or Sir, remember, Sir, I'm sick of these sirs. What do you have to do in this country? Abuse children, then you get annoyed. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Because that's the thing that I'm saying. But anyway, right? So Sir Keir Starmer, right? Yeah, he denied those victims justice while that man was still alive, and I just want you to know that. Judges. Now, as everyone knows, I find it a lot harder to get judges' data because I have to do individual case studies, okay? So if anyone wants to help me, I'll say this now, right, because I need some help, right? If anyone wants to help me research, right, because when it comes to judge sentence, everyone knows I've been banging this drum again for years, right? We've obviously got nonces sitting on that judge's powerful seats. We know this because of how many get away with the stupid, most mitigating circumstances like depression, right? Depression, I'm sorry, how many fucking people in this country have got mental health issues? That does not make them abuse and rape children, does it? No. But apparently in a court of goddamn law, that is a mitigating circumstance to get you off with it. Apparently, having to look after somebody is a mitigating circumstance. I've had a case before where they had to look after their wife because their wife was depressed. Fuck off! Get community fucking... Sorry, right. Get lost. Get community mental health to look after her, right? Because if you really cared about looking after these people or caring for these people, you wouldn't have abused the chicks in the first place, right? Because you should have known that there's a deterrent, but obviously we ain't got no deterrent, have we? So, if anyone wants to help me research, because I am so with the judge trend history, right? So what I want to do, okay, is build a picture of every judge in this country and their sentencing trends for every crime, because I already, from the data I've got, can show you, correlate, right, how, for example, with drugs crimes and violent crimes, they are convicting them towards the upper end of the maximum sentence, okay? But how come with child abuse crimes, okay, it is, obviously we've got no minimum sentence, but how come they're not being convicted anywhere near their maximum? How come most of them are getting suspended sentences? So obviously I think that gives you the implication that it gives me as well. But until I've got the data, and obviously you can't get freedom of information requests on judges, right? You can't, there's no source where I can get an overarching data for the judges' sentencing data. We have to do that one by one on individual case studies. Whoever wants to help me with that, please, goddamn do. Right, judges. So, judges, right. The child porn. Right. Right. You have to bear with me, I've had like 6 days to prepare this for you, and it's been a mammoth task. Right. So, there was combined efforts of several police forces in the UK and the USA who was investigating the distribution of trading of child pornographic images being bought, sold and manufactured by individuals. A judge, a prison governor and 50 police officers were questioned and arrested in the UK in connection with that case in 2003. This information and the outcome has been suppressed. So I can't tell you the names of those people, and I can't tell you if anything happened to them. I think my gut says, no it didn't, because why would they suppress it otherwise? They'd want to use them as a little scapegoat, wouldn't they? Right. 2007. 1,434 complaints against child porn loving law chiefs. Obviously, no names. I think you know why. Right. Okay, let's move on to the ones that we have got some names for you for. Judge Paul Carney. Right, again, can't give you a bit more. Judge with child porn found on his computer is Senior Circuit Judge David Selwood. He was arrested by Hampshire Police on charges of child pornography on his computer. This only came about after it was discovered after a tip-off of his credit card was linked and having made websites to the child website. Judge Selwood presided over trials involving paedophiles. Oh, did my point lead into my data? Think it might have done. Right, sorry. But yeah, Judge Senior Circuit Judge David Selwood. Right, he presided over trials involving paedophiles and other sexual natures. He was often covering cases in Portsmouth Crown Court. I'll just pause there. It kind of proves my point. Right. Right, so, oh, yeah, sorry, I did want to make this point, actually, I'm sorry. Right, he was often covering the case in Portsmouth Crown Court and he was due to answer bail by appearing at Bow Street Magistrates Court. But guess what, people? Before that date was set, he retired on health grounds, and they deemed that acceptable. And when he retired on health grounds, he's still entitled to his pension of £33,000 a year, and he had a lump sum of £74,250. So how many years was he letting paedophiles get off with what they was doing, because he was one himself, and yet he managed to resign, face no criminal charges, and then take over what? £100,000 out that year of our purse, and then every year since. Judge charged with indecency. District Court Judge Richard Hoffman confessed to having sex in toilets in King Street bus station in Wrexham. I'll leave that there. Nothing happened to him, obviously. The case, right. Judge Martin Bowley was questioned by police after spanking and caning a session with his rent boy. Remember that term? I don't like it, but that's in the record. So, in order to not get done for defamation, I've got to use what's in the record. Right. So, where was we? Right. With his rent boy, letters were produced by the head notepayer of the QC's office in King's Bench Walk, London, saying the consequences of your offence could mean another taste of the cane without padding. So he was using Crown Court material in his sick deviated sexual with his rent boy. Right, I've got to move on because right. So there's obviously a lot of judge data, but I just want to give you some highlights. I know it's getting on now and I've been talking for a long time, sorry. Right, so a hearing at Knightsbridge Crown Court withheld the name of a judge. Of course they did, because they like to cover up for them and put some gagging orders on. But he was caught in a vice raid. He had already paid £100 for the spanking session and only fined the police. The judge was questioned by the police at the scene, but then he was allowed to leave when he told them that he was a judge. The owner of that parlour said the judge was in a terrible state, the poor dear. He was one of our regulars. Right, a court usher received compensation of £15,000 after claiming that she'd been sexually harassed by Judge Anura Corey. The judge retired of grounds of ill health. You know what happens when they retire on ill health? We'll pay him until he dies. The only judge ever sacked, Judge Bruce Campbell, admitted to charges of smuggling whiskey and cigarettes. So again, don't forget, you smuggle, you evade tax in this country, we will do something. You abuse our children, you rape our children, oh, it's all right, Jack. A corruption investigation began into Judge David Tapp and 6 of his clerks. So don't forget, they're not corrupt and they don't collude, but one judge and 6 of his clerks were done. And the solicitor, sorry, I forgot about the solicitor, over bribery in his profession. Oh, let me see if I can tell you where his court was. Yeah, Merseyside District Judge. Merseyside District Judge David Tapp. David Tapp, the judge, a solicitor and 6 courts were all found to be taking bribes. Don't forget though, I've just told you about the only judge ever sacked. So he won't sacked! Bet he retired on health grounds though. Judge escapes justice. That's a good header, isn't it? Alright. Judge Beatrice has gotten away with her behaviour on a report now says she's facing disciplinary action. It now appears that the Office for Judicial Complaints dropped the matter because she's retired on medical grounds. I thought you'd sense a theme here with the judges. Right, judge appears in court for inappropriate behaviour. Judge Michael Wood has stood down over sexual behaviour towards a legal advisor. But he did receive his £100,000 salary though. Right, Judge Lincoln Crawford quit in 2009 after losing a High Court challenge to suppress and hush up convictions for harassment. Deputy District Judge fails to suppress his wrongdoing. Essex lawyer and Deputy District Judge Tom Harrison went to great lengths to prevent allegations in his own forum from being published by a local solicitor. Again. Yeah, whatever. Judge Peter Gibson, the torture inquiry judge, is accused of bias by a human rights group. The group says he's too closely linked with the intelligence services MI5 and MI6. Aren't they all? Right, the judiciary out to get Stephen Ward. We turn. Right, scandal that involved the government enlisting judicial power to silence the man who brought down the government. Lord Benning was a pioneer of justice to some, but in this case, the case of Stephen Ward, he turned to the dark side, throwing away decency and fair play. Anyway. Mr. Justice Marshall. Anyway, he had no impartiality at the Court of Criminal Appeal for non-existent. Judges refused to break their culture of secrecy. Jack Straw failed to open up the family courts to scrutiny because of suspicions of bias, injustice and his old pals acting along with his cronies. He wanted the system to allow journalists to attend hearings, but the judges wanted a ban on reporting to remain in place. I wonder why. MP Liam Fox claims judges are making the law up. This is the MP, right? So look how dodgy the MPs are, and the MPs are so fed up with the judges. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up, could you? Anyway, right. MP Liam Fox claims that judges are making the law up and introducing new laws, and that is a real threat to democracy. You all are. Sorry, but you all are. Right. Now, I'll give you a little bit of financial information. Right. A bill of £8,000 a night for judges in lodgings. Okay. Now, the report says that in the region of £8,000 a night is to let a judge stay near the courthouse. Okay. So, a fact file produced says that in Norwich it costs £41,233 a week. In St Albans it costs £15,319 a week. In Reading it costs £14,147 a week. And in Oxford it costs £6,000. There's more. Also is, however. Deputy District Judge Harvey broke procedure in allowing the agency to lie and deceive in a Somerset case. The agency reduced an amount without informing the claimant without regard to the circumstances and contrary to the rules and regulations of a fair trial. It's just case examples for you, because obviously they're not corrupt. Right, close to my heart. Judge Adrian Smith is currently being investigated over certain judgments in cases that he's provided over. That is because he's now convicted of child rape. So obviously, all those cases that he's presided over. You get me drift about these fucking wrong guns, yeah? Sorry. Right. The child rapist who he freed went on to repeat his offences as well. So he freed a child rapist, and then that child rapist went on to rape more children. Several cases have been cited that the lawyers are complaining about from 2007 to 2009 about a trial held in private, ordered by the judge. He is to be investigated by Baroness Scotland and the Lord Chief Attorney General. That is also featured. She's also featured in the corrupt list. Oh my God, are you for real? However. Right, so Judge Sir Maurice Drake was accused of failing to secure a fair trial. The Court of Appeal is now hearing that. Judges in corruption and cover-ups: Judge Lord Hamilton, Judge Lord Gill, Judge Lord Cullen are actively ignoring reports that suggest that Scotland's legal system is riddled with corruption. Shocking. Right, accusations have been made that the Law Society still guards its secrecy as if it was policy. Cullen is said to turn a blind eye when bench sheriffs break the rules on cases where they have a vested interest. He is, they say, a grand master at hiding criminality and professional misconduct behind ambiguous legal judgments, especially when clearing accused senior lawyers of firms accused of malpractice. Let's refer to the one that we just... Don't forget, this woman here that I'm about to talk to is going to be the one that presides over the case of the dodgy one we just discussed. So, High Court Judge, right? Former High Court Judge, Judge Baroness Butler Sloss, has hit out at the judgery claiming they're appointing badge judges to meet government targets. She went on to say that some of the judges being chosen are not amply qualified or capable to meet the targets of diversity that is now thrown their way in modern cases. She made these comments while addressing the House of Lords debate to encourage more women to become judges. Anyway, right. The judge who turned a blind eye. Right, hang on, let's do the one. Judge Roger Stewart is being sued by a fellow barrister in the firm over discrimination. Right, the judge who turned a blind eye. The claimed judges are fair to uphold the law, but one judge sitting at Southwark Crown Court did not. The case concerned an assault that happened at a rail station just south of London, going towards Brighton. A man was arrested on the scene for attacking a girl. Right? So he had a witness come to him and say that this man's innocent, basically. So a man on the jury, right? A man on the jury actually saw the assault, right? So when he's on the jury, he's gone to the man. Well, I know this end, right? This is the victim. I saw her being attacked by two teenage boys on the thing, right? He's gone to the judge. He's told the judge this, okay? He's told the judge. He's told the solicitor. He's told the prosecutor. Right? I looked into his case in depth. He's told the prosecutor. He's told all these people, right? Now this man that was on trial, they tried to do him before. So they shushed this man up, kept him on the jury, and then he didn't speak about it for 2 years because he was scared. And obviously he's like, I thought they was going to do me for perverting the course of justice. I didn't think the other jurors would believe me because I've told the judge, I've told the prosecutor, I've told the solicitor, and they've all told me to shut up about it. That man, by the way, that innocent man, by the way, got convicted. Yeah, he did. Luckily for us now, this man is now speaking up about what happened at their trial. Okay. Judge Julian Hall. I'm just going to read them out now because these are all corrupt. They're orange, they're corrupt, and they're proven corrupt, so you can research it yourself because it's getting late, and apologies. Alright. So, Edward I dismissed 2 out of 3 judges, King's Bench, Right, Sir William D. Thorpe, Chief Justice, was convicted of accepting bribes. Okay, so, Lord Chancellor Bacon was also convicted. Chancellor Macclesfield resigned after being convicted of selling offices in the court of the Chancery. Lord Chancellor Westbury resigned after administration abuses. My green and my child abuse one, so I'll just do the corruption one again first. Judges are normally taking off cases that they've had prior contact with or social events with in the past. However, Lord Justice Leveson, in charge of the legal proceedings concerning the phone hacking scandal involving Rupert Murdoch, is now the judge. He attended 2 parties given by Murdoch in the past year. However, he still sat and presided over that case. Here we go. Philip Howarth, JP, magistrate, and a public schoolmaster, was arrested in a hotel room. Police were raiding areas where they knew that sex tourists went. He is a Wolverhampton magistrate's judge. He denied having sex with the boy. However, he appeared in court, charged with procuring the 14-year-old boy for sex and having indecent photos of him. Paedophiles. Okay, paedophile magistrate is jailed. Croydon magistrate Terry Mills was jailed for 9 months following a police investigation that uncovered images of young boys sexually abused on his computer. He downloaded 190 indecent images of young boys from an observed website. The magistrate was arrested and the PC was seized, and he was found guilty of 11 counts of making indecent images and building up a library of child pornography. He claims in his defence that his victim has tried to fit him up. Now, remember people, there was one judge sacked that I told you about earlier. So this one we're still paying. Magistrate faces jail over sex attack on boys. Portsmouth magistrate Harold Tope faced jail on a string of sexual assaults on young boys going over many years. At the Crown Court, he pleaded guilty to 11 indecent assaults. So don't forget, these are presiding over child abuse cases. Anyway, he pleaded guilty to 11 indecent assaults, 3 charges of serious sexual assaults on young boys. Altogether, he pleaded guilty to 16 charges involving 5 young boys. West Midlands Magistrate David Ward resigned from his post at the Sutton Coldfield Magistrates Court after a videotape showing his DIY porn fell into the hands of a child. Police were called after Ward videoed children on an outing that he gave to one of the parents, little realising he forgot to change the tapes. These are the intellectual people that we've got presiding over our cases. Yeah, right. So Alan Prescott was a senior magistrate. He was described as a pillar of his community by those that knew him. He's at the job of superintendent at East London Care Home for Boys. Yeah, you are sensing a theme there. Right. He molested the boys at the care home that he worked at. After his arrest, he appeared in court and he was found guilty of molesting 4 different teenage boys as they slept in their beds. Bristol Magistrate Geoffrey Botley was finally jailed after he was found guilty of viewing and collecting child abuse videos and images on his computer. The court only sentenced him to 6 months. It's probably his friend, to be fair, but saying that it was an act that destroyed his reputation. Oh, what a goddamn shame! What about destroying them boys' lives? And he put the legal profession in a position that could not be tolerated. He was dismissed from the bench. Oh, good. That's a new one. Read out the judge's data, people. I'm really sorry, I had actually a lot more information to give you because it just, but we're not going to be able to do that today because I know I said 4 o'clock to everyone, so I am sorry. So I think what I might do though, people, is because I have to get all this information out before event 2, and there's a reason for that, okay? I can't have the apathy before event 2. I can't have cognitive dissonance before I go into child trafficking and limiting children in our country, okay? You have to know why it's happening, okay? So I think what I'll do is I will go back and in a couple of days I'll upload a video onto the page with the rest of the information, okay? So rather than having to do it all today, I'll give you the judge's data and then I'll go into the other things that I wanted to discuss with you in regards to the media's silence and all the rest of the agenda for today, because you know what, we got halfway through the agenda, people. Sorry, and I tried, but I only got halfway through, so yeah, I think that's probably best. Alright, let me finish the judges though. I know we're running over. These green ones are child abusers, paedophiles, sitting on them benches, presiding over cases of child abuse, and then you're wondering why they're not getting convicted. I'll tell you why. That is why. The bill that's going to the House of Lords is the best route we've got, and to be honest with you, it is the most encouraging support I have had for a long time. Now don't get me wrong, I have got a great barrister that's been helping me for the last 12 months, and he's actually one of the top 10 barristers in London. But we can only do so much going through them, people, and as I think you've realised today, or I'm hoping you've realised today, there is a reason why those people will not change the legislations, okay? So House of Lords is the best thing, I reckon. So I want to read these out anyway, just to leave you with paper all over the place, I'm sorry. Right, anyway. Don't want you to be left with any illusions as to why this has happened, as to why it's been allowed. And also, when you're listening to the media, or you're listening to the inquiry, or you're listening to them people going, oh, it's historic, I want you to remember the data that I provided you, that I have collated, that is modern, that is up to current day. Okay? Okay, thank you. Right, so, Magistrate Charles Gutman resigned! Don't forget, when they resign, we still pay them! Anyway, resigned after it was discovered he posted adverts about offering discipline to students. The judge, who once held a position at Dulwich College, again, I think that's really, I think they're really important when I tell you about their access to children, as well as what they're doing with their access to corruption. Okay, so he held a position at Dulwich College as well, prep school in South London, and he often sat while juvenile cases were being heard. Gutman offered academic training and preferred boys to be in shorts and vest for academic training. Oh, he's not a PE teacher, and even if you were, anyway. He put them through cold showers, he gave them the slip of the cane, The boys booked in and went to his flat for lessons near Hampstead in London. Right, Magistrate Rashpal Chana, once awarded by the Queen, obviously she don't look into them, does she? Once awarded by the Queen, was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in jail in Nottingham Crown Court. Now, what they forgot to tell me there, so I'll tell you, is the manslaughter was over a toddler's death. And obviously, from what I hear, and I've got to tell you that this is my gut, okay? This wasn't manslaughter, this was murder of a toddler, but obviously they've convicted him for manslaughter. That's my gut, though, people, obviously. Defamation and all that, right? So, a jury was told that he was involved in scalding of a 2-year-old child. I'm sorry, but that's still a baby as well. And it's funny, isn't it? And the information that they give was just convicted of manslaughter. This is a baby. This is a goddamn baby. This is a 2-year-old. Right. Anyway, let's move on. The Greater Manchester Police confirmed that they took a man in for questioning over possessing indecent images of children on his computer. The magistrate who sat on the bench of the juvenile court for 9 years, how many cases presided over? He was not named. Wonder why he wasn't named, and I can't find his name because freedom of information requests won't give you judge information. Right, he's said to be under investigation still, and he's said to be Freemasonry among the magistrates, but only 1 in 7 will admit it. Okay. A survey revealed that 1,000 judges admitted to being in the Freemasons. That's admitted. 1,000 admitted to being in the Freemasons, the secret brotherhood that mingles and influences the legal profession. 867 of them refused to respond to the survey, though, despite government figures showing that 400,000 men belong to the various lodges. Obviously, I'm not saying they're all guilty at all, but what I am saying is that when you're in a secret network, if one of your brothers does something, you all turn a blind eye, you all ignore it, and you all allow it and enable it to happen. Just like them, just like the police, just like the judges, and just like I'm hoping that I've proved to you today, okay? So, a Commons Committee expressed concern, okay, over the large proportion of men in the judges service delivery justice that were Masons, okay? Because when you've got a secret brotherhood, and when you've got, 50% who are admitting to being in that secret brotherhood, are we really going to be able to trust transparency and credibility there? I mean, I don't know about you, but that's my opinion, and I'm allowed it, right? Just giving my opinion there. Vincent Barron, probation chief. Sex offenders database, was jailed for 2 years after 3,800 indecent images of children were found on his computer. The former probation officer in County Durham was convicted of distributing the indecent images as well. That he found himself on the register. He was looked at while working at the Home Office. Yes, you heard that right. He was looking at these indecent images on his computer while he worked at the Home Office. That is how much they think they're untouchable. Do you know what I mean? Like the Home Office and the IT department that goes, that's never going to network with that judge. They think they're that untouchable that strangers that they've never met before on a consulting basis will come in and just, that's how much they don't care about covering it up. It's sickening. I'm sickened. Anyway. Collusion between judges and lawyers. Solicitors at MP Power decided the best way to prevent demonstrations was to use the law in a secretive and heavy-handed manner without the thought of fairness. Always said to exist in British law, apparently, under that banner, justice for all. The corrupt solicitors obtained an injunction without the other party being represented. The judge allowed it purely on a one-sided say-so. And these MP Power solicitors, who also claimed they could not have their photos taken, wanted to look into the dealings and uncover their fraud and false statements. Okay, so the judge's holiday home here was used in rape offences. Handyman employed by, so there's a couple of people employed by Judge John Dennis, who sits in West London Court. Hey, right. His holiday house was used to commit acts of rape. And another man, James Manchin, and John Barrett took 2 young girls to the judge's house, but they were raped as well. So 3 men are raping different children in your house. I'm sorry, right? Coincidences? Have a look at Harvard's thing about mathematical coincidences. 1, yeah, possible coincidence. 3, really improbable and unlikely. I'll leave it as that. Sorry, we've got so many corrupt people. I'm sorry, I thought.
You know what it is, Rolly? When I'm at home,
and I've got halfway through the agenda. I'm sorry. Right.
I make a roll up.
Judges make 333 orders to keep the public from knowing. Okay, so in just 5 years, the state of secrecy within the court has led to 333 gagging orders being put in place to prevent the public from gaining information.
When I got home, I was coughing and coughing from the cigarettes.
The judges and the rich do not want the public to know about it. It also came about that no accurate records are being kept in relation to these orders, and calls are made to the Ministry of Justice to start implementing a proper system because it's got that out of hand. Right? So calls are being made now to go to Ministry of Justice to implement a proper system. One would expect in a legal profession who... yeah. Well, let's see what the Ministry of Justice do, but I haven't really got faith in any agency in this country. I really don't. You'll see why when I do the video upload before event time, because I was leading into like case examples that I've actually personally dealt with, and there isn't even a national agency in this country that you can trust. I can prove that. I will prove it. I'll give you the information on the video, because obviously, thank you for your time. You've been here long enough today. I'm sorry. Now, I'll just point to this, right? So the orange ones, do you want me to read the names? I mean, I'm not really. But the orange ones are all corrupt judges. Proven corrupt judges. Go on. Well, that's what I was here for. Naming and shaming today and making sure you were under no illusion of what the powerful elites in this country are covering up and why. And why. Okay, so. Oh, God. Absolutely loads of them. But obviously, these ones, again, as I'm saying, really struggle to get judges' data. Obviously, this isn't the sentencing trend data that I've been looking at. That's separate, okay? This is just convictions again, kind of thing, right? But I actually think it's more important with the judges to get their trend sentencing. What are they sentencing? What are their trends against the different crime? That I'm working on. That is taking me a lot longer. Okay, so removing the judges holding their powerful seats will take me a lot longer than the others. I think I'm going to end it there. I'm going to rate this judge's name because I think he's a twat. Right. Judge Mark Saville, spared Mark Thornton, 32, Joe. So Mark Thornton, right? Child sex offences, really, really nasty ones. I don't want to go in, right? He could have imposed a custodial sentence of 10 years.
You mean you can't get up?
He's spared in jail.
If he sees this up later, he can't blame me.
He hasn't. Well, I don't know if he has or not. I'm not going to say either way. However, Judge Mark Saville could have given Mark Thornton 10 years. He could have imposed 10 years on him and he let him walk out. Now, this is what, in fact, even on my post that I post out, I've even put, so although with many gaps in our current legislation, mainly the minimum sentences I was alluding to earlier for these crimes, we then have the comparative issues of the wronged judges wielding their power to impose the minimum possible even without mitigation. This person, right, this Mark Thornton, had no mitigation. He had no good defence lawyer. Because they're the ones, I struggle with them. I struggle when they got a good defence lawyer, they got mitigating circumstances. It's just the way our legal system is. This guy had no mitigating circumstances. This guy could have got 10 years for his heinous acts. The judge let him walk out. That judge, Mark Saville. By the way, that was a child rapist that he let out. This is why I want the sentencing, because if that child rapist goes on to rape any more children, I'm sorry, but that judge, in my eyes, is liable. That judge. I am going to end it there, and then I'm going to do a video, and to be honest with you, I seem to be halfway through, so bear with me. It seems like that video might be another fucking 3 hours. I am sorry. But thank you all for coming today, and I hope I have opened your eyes as to why we've got the issues, and as to why they're not being convicted, and as to why they're not being punished, and as to why there's no deterrent, and as to why it's rife, and as to why we've got 75% re-offend rate in this goddamn country. And don't forget that 75% re-offend rate is from convictions that we know of. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a clue. Most paedophiles we're not aware of, okay? So we're aware of strangers, we're aware of groomers, etc. Now, most child abuse and child rapes happen to within a familial setting, okay? We haven't got that data. They're not convicted hardly ever, mainly on historic bases as well. So, the 75% conviction rate is on what we know. And I'm telling you now, what we know is a tip of the iceberg.
Tony
Thank
Blair
you for
needs to
coming.
be brought to account for what he's done.
Tony Blair does need to be brought to account for what he
does.
did.
Well done, Tess. Well done.
Well done, Tess.
Do you want a bottle of water?
Have you finished?